Hey beautiful people, what is up and welcome back to my channel and welcome to my February favorites and a couple of feels. If this is your first time watching me, hi, I am Jamila and I love all things beauty. I love all things makeup and I love all things skincare, and I especially love sharing my tips and tricks for how to find high-end and luxury beauty products at bargain prices. Yes, we do. If that sounds like something you are interested in, I would absolutely love if you would consider subscribing and joining the fam. Okay, so like I said, today is going to be my February favorites. Ignore the double eyes. I'm actually testing out a new eyeshadow palette from a new to me brand, so that video should be up relatively soon. But I wanted to get my February favorites out because we're a couple of days into the month of March and I didn't want this to linger too much. So without further ado, let's dive in. I'm actually going to start off with my fails because I want to end on a high note. So let's start with my fails. I only have two fails because I don't like keeping things in my collection that I don't like. So if it doesn't work for me, it usually gets sent back. But I have these two with me, so I'm just going to show you guys. Okay, so the first thing is actually a product that's been in my collection for a while, and I keep pulling it out and trying to use it, and it just doesn't work, so I don't know why I'm keeping it. So it's actually going to go into my monthly empties. And that is the Colourpop Brow Pencil. I picked this up from Colourpop a while back when I needed to make shipping, and this is in the shade Dark Brown, and I think you can see what the problem is. Like, it just doesn't show up. Like, I don't understand how this product just does not show up. I'm actually digging into my skin to get any kind of pigment to show up, and that hurts. Like, and this is the back of my hand, so imagine how this applies onto the eyes. It is such a bad product. I don't know if I got a dud, but it's dry as hell. It does not transfer, so you spend all this time really kind of like digging to try to get this to show up on your brow, and nothing even shows up. So this was a complete waste. I believe this retails for like $6. Save your $6, buy you a cappuccino, buy you a latte. Don't spend your money on that brow pencil because it is a complete waste of time. The second fail that I want to talk to you guys about is the Bobbi Brown Molten Drama Palette. I picked this up at the cosmetics company store, and I mentioned this in my last eyeshadow palette, ranking the last 10 eyeshadow palettes I've done video. But this is so bad. I don't want to dive into it because I talked about why I hated it or disliked it on that video. But just to give you guys a recap, all of the shades in here seem like they don't have much of a base to it. So the pigmentation is completely lacking. And I struggled with how light these shades were because they just did not show up at all. And I have other Bobbi Brown palettes in my collection that have a ton of pigment that actually look really great on the eyes. So I was very surprised by this and completely disappointed. I don't know if this palette is meant to be something that's like a light wash of color, kind of similar to the Chanel Mediterranean palette, where it really is a light wash of color. It's for that no makeup look. But because I don't know this brand to do that, and because the other two palettes that I have are very pigmented, I wasn't expecting that with this, and I did not really like it. I also didn't think that the mattes were anything spectacular. Now, I did pay $10 for this. It is discontinued. It's not a palette that exists anymore. But I believe the original price of this was like $59, which is way overpriced for what you were getting. So that palette was a complete fail. I'm actually going to get rid of it. Honestly, if you want it, just send me a DM and just pay shipping and I'll send it to you because I ain't going to use that. And I hate throwing things away, so I would rather just give it to somebody that would. Okay, now let's get into the fun things, the favorites, the things that worked out for me this month. First, I'm going to start with the one that I kind of did a spoiler alert for in a previous video. That is the Ruffa Hydration Cream. Now, you've probably seen that Ruffa Brushes is branching into skincare, and this is the first product that they launched. It is a moisturizer that comes with 5% niacinamide, 3% dimethicone, 2% Centilla asiatica, and 1% meadowfoam seed oil, and it has a +8 hyaluronic acid complex. Now that is a lot of chemicals that I am not really sure what the benefits of all of those are. What I do know is that niacinamide agrees with my skin, and I love hyaluronic acid because my skin gets really dry, especially in this kind of like winter months. Yes, we're transitioning into spring, but my skin is still in that kind of dry phase. I really enjoyed this. The interesting thing about this release is that right now Ruffa is doing a pay what you want campaign with this moisturizer. So you can honestly get this for $0. And that is because the Ruffa Beauty model is designed entirely around getting consumer feedback. So I don't know if this is the soft launch of this product to see if consumers are interested in it, to see if they like the products, and then they may reformulate or rejigger or figure out what the actual price is going to be before they put it up. But this I got for free, so I can't tell you what the actual price is and the value and how I think the value is compared to the price because I didn't pay anything for it. However, I will say that the formula of this is absolutely fabulous. This is a very lightweight formula that I think is most suitable for people with oily skin. It sinks into the skin like a dream and in my opinion offers a light wash of hydration. So if you have oily skin and you don't like having heavy moisturizers because it tends to mess with your makeup or it tends to make you more oily throughout the day, I think that this is one that you would really appreciate having in your routine because I felt like it sank into the skin really well and did not irritate the makeup that I applied after it. That being said, if you have dry skin or if you tend to be drier in the winter months, this may not be the moisturizer for you either during winter or if you have that sort of dry skin. Because I felt like there were definitely times when I applied this and I did not get the hydration that I needed. We are coming out of the winter months, so now that we're getting into spring and summer, this is going to be something that I reach for more frequently, but this would not be my go-to moisturizer of choice in the winter time when my skin really needs that extra hydration. So if you have dry skin all year round, I would say try it now while you can for free, but I wouldn't necessarily recommend it for someone who has like consistent dry skin and just needs some extra moisturization. Okay, so the next favorite of this month is actually a brush that I just pulled out of my collection. I bought this brush. It is the Sephora number 72. It's a demi fan brush. I picked this up at TJ Maxx for I believe like $7.99. There was a point like a year or two ago when all of the Sephora brushes were ending up at TJ Maxx, and I think it's because they've redesigned these and re-released them. So all of the old design was ending up at TJ Maxx. So I picked this one up. And to be honest, I didn't know why I picked it up. I didn't know how to use it. But I started using it this month, well, last month, and I really enjoy it. I use this as my bronzer brush, and I know it's definitely not a standard typical shape for a bronzer, but I feel like this just gets right into the crevices where I want it, and I can apply bronzer in all of the places that I need to. This is a very soft brush too, so I feel like it diffuses the color of the bronzer out really nicely, so it doesn't just kind of sit into that one spot. So I've really been enjoying this. I actually have another one of it, and I'm glad that I'm finally kind of digging into this brush because it just kind of sat in my brush container because I didn't know how to use it, and now that I figured out that it is absolutely amazing at applying bronzer, I've been really reaching for this brush. So the next favorite that I want to mention is one that comes with a little bit of a caveat, and that is the LYS Concealer. So I was gifted this concealer from LYS, and they sent it to me in the shade DN3, and that's because I mentioned that is the shade that I wear in the foundation. And I actually really do like this concealer. However, I think that if you are my shade and you wanted something that is a little bit brighter, going for the exact same shade in the concealer is not going to get you there. This is almost identical to my skin tone and almost identical to the foundation. So when I apply that in the areas that you typically brighten, it doesn't really add any brightness, but it does add coverage. The LYS foundation is a medium, light to medium coverage foundation, and this is described as a full coverage concealer. And I do find that it definitely is medium full. So you can build it up, it doesn't feel heavy or cakey, but it does allow for more coverage. I have hypopigmentation around my eyes, so the area right under my eyes is a lot lighter than the rest of my face. So I don't mind having something that's a little bit closer to my skin tone because I do like to make that area just a little bit deeper so it actually kind of evens things out. The one thing that I don't like about this concealer is the packaging, and that is where the caveat comes in, because the tip kind of gets stuck here, and when you try to pull it out, it kind of sprays all over the place. So I feel like I struggle with opening this concealer because I'm always concerned that when I'm trying to pull out the applicator, it gets stuck, and then when I finally get it out, like little droplets of concealer tends to spray everywhere, and that I find quite annoying. So the packaging for this, I don't know if mine has a little bit of a design flaw in there, but I don't like that I struggle a little bit getting the concealer out. That aside, the formula is absolutely fabulous, and I would certainly recommend checking it out. I actually do intend to pick up a lighter shade in the concealer to see if I like that more as something that's just a hint brighter during the Sephora VIB sale. Oh, this retails for like $18, which I think is an amazing price. I love the LYS pricing, and I think $18 for this concealer, which has 0.18 fluid ounces, is a pretty solid price. Okay, and the last favorite that I want to mention for this month is actually a trio, and that is the Sydney Grace and Temptalia bundle. I have a video up ranking all of the eyeshadow palettes that I tried, so go ahead and check that out if you want to see all of the eyeshadow I tried in February and honestly some of April, and where all three of these fell in that ranking. But I have to say, overall, taking, you know, that ranking aside, this was the eyeshadow that blew me away the most in the month of February. I was so impressed with the quality of the Sydney Grace formula. I feel like I always knew it was a good formula. I've tried it, I've loved it in the past, but the more I use the Sydney Grace formula, the more I actually fall in love with it. Their mattes blend like butter, but honestly, the shimmers are kind of what get me. They are not super metallic in any way, and they're not satin. They're like right in the middle, but kind of like perfectly situated in the middle. And the pigmentation of these palettes are just so beautiful. They last really well. I didn't experience any fading throughout the day, and I felt like I was able to get really, really pretty looks. One of the complaints that I know a lot of people had about this series kind of going into the launch is the fact that honestly, all of the palettes look the same. The color story kind of looks the same across all three palettes. So it's like, why do I need to buy all three if I'm going to get the same kind of jewel toned shadows? I honestly thought exactly like that as well until I picked up these palettes and I was like, oh, they are very different. So while they are in the jewel toned family, I found that the shadows are very different. Each of the palettes give me different things, and it's just beautiful through and through. So the first one is the Radiant Reflection palette. This was the one that I was most excited for because I thought it gave me the most variety, but the one that I enjoyed the least because overall you get these mauvey tones, a green-ish roll with a yellow gold, and then some blues. And these aren't necessarily my favorite blues, and I feel like I have these mauvey tones everywhere, so I wasn't super excited when I actually tried this palette. Next is the Quintessence palette in the shade Deep. This was an absolutely stunning, amazing, beautiful palette. This royal blue that has a hint of purple in there is beautiful, and paired with this red shade, stunning. I also really, really enjoyed all of these shades over here. My constellation is like a nice purple, and these two green shades are actually the kind of greens that I like. Aurora is a duochrome. This shade here is a duochrome. Stunning, beautiful as well. So this was definitely right up my alley, and one that I didn't expect to really enjoy, but totally fell in love with. And then the last one is the On the Horizon, and this is also in the shade Deep. So again, you see those jewel tones. You have the greens, you have some blues, and then you have some mauve shades. I really enjoyed this shade in particular. It's called Phoenix Awakens because it is a beautiful copper shade. I love orange eyeshadow or copper eyeshadow, and paired with green is just perfection. So I felt like this kind of orange coppery vibes mixed with the greens was really purple. What I did think is that there were a lot of these kind of mauve shades across all three palettes that were very similar, that were kind of unnecessary. I didn't need that much mauve tones, but if you were only buying one palette out of all three, which I think is what most people would do, is just buy the one that they like the most, it definitely makes sense. I wanted all three, I got all three, so I'm not mad. And the last, oh, I forgot, one last thing, one that I was really surprised by is a highlighter. And this is by Shine by SD Cosmetics. This was the highlighter that I won. Well, I won the mystery bottle. No, I didn't. I won a gift card from the brand, and using the gift card, I purchased their mystery bundle, and this highlighter came in the mystery bundle. It's called shade number 1. I think it's specific to the mystery bundle, and it did arrive broken, so I apologize that this is a little bit hard to see. But it's a gold highlighter with a green undertone, and I'm gonna swatch it here for you guys. And it is really, really beautiful. It is a chunky highlighter. The one qualm I'll say is that this does emphasize texture. So if you have texture on your face, if you're self-conscious about that, this may not be the highlighter for you or the highlighter formula for you. But I loved that this is such a nice kind of yellow gold with a green shift that it's very different and very unique. So this was one that I actually really enjoyed. And I didn't mind that it picked up, that it emphasized texture, but stunning. Sorry, last favorites, bronzers. I love bronzer. It is like my second favorite part of my routine outside of eyeshadow, and I have been reaching for these two bronzers the entire month of February. The first one is the LYS bronzer in the shade Strength. This is a really beautiful bronzer that has a very neutral undertone, so it does not lean very red, which I appreciate. I hate that red bronzer that it just looks too harsh on my complexion. That is very medium deep with a golden yellow undertone. And then the other one is from Revolution, Makeup Revolution. It's the Glow, and this is in the shade Deep. This one is richer than the LYS bronzer and a little bit redder, but it's not too red. And honestly, considering the price of this bronzer, it is phenomenal. So you can see the similarities / differences between both of these. And this is the shade Medium. I think there are like 3 or 4 shades deeper than this in this Revolution bronzer. They killed it when it came to their bronzer shade range with this line, because it goes so deep and so rich, and it's not just like deep with a red undertone. It was absolutely fabulous. If you haven't tried that formula, I would definitely recommend you picking it up, because that's one of my favorites, and I'm glad that I pulled it back out for the month of February, because it just reinvigorated how much I loved that product and reminded me that, you know, not everything needs to be luxury, and to be quite frank, some drugstore products perform better than high-end and luxury. So, okay, and that's it. I'm officially done with my February favorites. I love doing this because it allows me to dive back into my collection and really pull out products that I have in some ways forgotten about or just kind of pushed to the side. If you like this video, go ahead and hit that like button. Please subscribe if you haven't already done so. Leave a comment down below letting me know what products you loved in the month of February or what you're looking forward to trying in the month of March. Share with a friend if you think they'll like the content. And as always, I love you guys. Thank you so much for watching, and I will catch you in my next one. Bye!